I want to talk to you about the 8 blocks that can be holding you back. These are 8 key areas that are just part of our everyday life, our everyday being. And I want to pull them out one by one and just explore them with you. Are these things that are holding you back? And how can you move past these? How can you be what you were designed to be? What your purposes and your life, and how can it look? These blocks can be the things that are keeping you from achieving that. I have experienced that with my own life and seen the shifts when I take a look at these 8 areas and I do the work. So in our growth process, there's some key things to understand. 1, we get the information. That's step 1. We get awareness that there's even a place that I could be looking. Because if we don't know where to look, then we just don't. Okay. And if we don't look, then we're not going to change anything in that space. The next step is then doing. I can learn about things, but if I'm not doing anything about it, if I'm not doing the work and committing to shifting these areas, it's just information in my head. And that's great, but kind of so what, right? Then there's the becoming. Well, that's what we want. We want to become everything that we were designed and are capable of doing. And there's literally no limit to the what we can achieve. And we think, well, I want to be an NBA player and I'm only 5'4". Okay, there's some physical things and there's some things that do guide us in and on our path. But I'm not going to put limits on us. And I'm going to encourage you not to put limits on you. Your heart desire is there for a reason. And what's blocking you from being all that you feel and are being drawn towards? So let's look at these 8 blocks, or the 8 areas that we can be blocked in. And I've got my notes with me because I want to nail these as they are here in my notebook. So when you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at. Okay, so here we go. Blocks are internal obstacles that prevent us from achieving our desired goals or living the life we want. Okay, we just talked about that. Blocks can be emotional, physiological, or even behavioral in nature. Many blocks are interconnected, making their grip on us even stronger. So block number 1, the block of fear. You guys got to understand something about fear. There's been a time in your life that fear was doing something very important for you. So on my journey and on many of the clients that I've worked with over the years, so I've been working with energy and guiding people for over 25 years. And one of the things and patterns I've seen is there was a time that fear did something super valuable. It protected you. Fear protects us. That's what it's there for. Now, when does fear start getting in our way and becoming a block? It's when we've outgrown the need for that protection. When I was young, I have an auditory processing disorder and I'm dyslexic, which now I see as a total gift and another topic we should dive into together someday. But for this conversation, when I was asked to read and to get up in front of class, it was horrible because the whole page was moving all over the place. The whole dyslexia thing was full on. And I felt so much shame and embarrassment, and that would just happen over and over, right? Because you're doing the first grade thing, let's learn to read, second grade, and it just builds one on top of the other. So these experiences accumulated and a fear attached. It's like, I have to protect myself from that. I need to come up. So I began to have these coping skills that were driven by the fear of getting up in front and embarrassing myself. These coping skills, though, allowed me to avoid that scenario. So through the lens of that I was looking through at the time, I needed protected from that. So this fear gave me the motivation to come up with coping skills that gave me a sense of being protected. But I soon outgrew that. When I began in my 20s to understand what does it really mean to be dyslexic, it's just a perceptual gift. And I started working at it from that angle and understanding myself. I didn't need the fear anymore. I didn't need those which were tied to the coping skills. Now, I didn't realize that these were connected together, that I had the fear that gave me these coping skills and that kept me safe. So these coping skills were now in my way. Why? Because I needed to get in front of you and speak to you. I needed to be able to read in front of people. I needed to have that to do what I'm being called to do. I needed to be able to step up and do it. But to do it, I had to go back and find why are my coping skills of, avoidance and all sorts of things look like that. What's at the root? Well, it was fear. So the block was fear, and it was beneficial for me to go in there and begin to heal. And there's really clever and useful and effective techniques that allow us to shift fear. And and you'll hear me say this a lot if you've been following me at all, if we get down to the root, then the symptoms will cease to exist. So finding the root's key. And how we deal with that's very individual. And there's techniques to follow step by step that are incredibly successful, impactful at eliminating and transmuting fear. So block number 2, limiting belief blocks: self-doubt, negative self-talk, imposter syndrome, beliefs about one's capabilities or worth. Limiting beliefs are exactly what they are. They limit us. They're a belief that was formed at a time when we were creating our identity. So early childhood development is when we develop our identity. So from birth to about 8 years old, we are developing who we are and how we interact with our surroundings, our social skills, our ability to navigate cause and effect. How do I manage and how do I fit into this social network? Those social pieces. So it comes from our family unit. If you are in a church or a religious organization of some kind, school, and then what do you watch on TV? What do you tie into and identify with in the whole world of social media? Those things form what's beautiful, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. What are you allowed to do? What are you not allowed to do? And I'm not saying that any of that is bad. What I want to take a look at, however, is, were any of those beliefs about yourself no longer serving you right now? So a limiting belief becomes limiting when it no longer serves you. And some beliefs can be based in a fear. So I brought to you already that, when I was learning in school, I couldn't read. I just couldn't yet. And the struggle was so real and emotional. I created a belief that I am not acceptable and my ability to not read is shameful. And that in fact I couldn't spell to save myself meant there's something wrong with me. These beliefs then became limiting because then it became a filter that I filtered other things through. So it leaked out of just academics, just out of the world of reading, and into other areas of my life when I felt judgment or the potential, what I perceived as a time I could be judged. So limiting beliefs that no longer serve us, or that are keeping us in a place that we want to grow out of, there's where it's a block. Number 3, emotional blocks: unresolved trauma, anxiety, depression, guilt, or shame. This could also be things that aren't even our experiences. So emotion is self-created energy. We have emotion that creates energy: happiness, excitement, joy, anxiety, fear, shame, guilt. These are all emotion, and those are frequencies. They are connected often to experiences that we've had, but not only to our experiences, because we can be exposed to experiences of others. And these balls of emotion, you can see them as electricity, if you will. They can be stored in our physical body. And emotional blocks will trigger thought. So that energy carries a frequency that will trigger a thought, or can trigger a thought in our head. And our thought could be, if I want to go and build or expand my business, or I want to get a job promotion, but to do that, I need to reach out to the leaders in my company, whoever that is. So to do that, I need to make that phone call. But an emotional block could trigger a thought, but I'll be rejected. And now this emotion is blocking you. You may not even be aware that you're having these thoughts. So this last week, a big surge of energy came through and unearthed a pattern that I've had in my life. I didn't even realize I had it. And it was built on judgment and shame in one of the times in my learning journey. And I've done a lot of work and a lot of healing, but things come up when we're ready to see them so that we're ready to move on to our next, what are we supposed to be doing? Well, I am expanding what I do in my work. I've got a new program rolling out. People are working with me for a year because we're working with the rhythms of the earth and the planet and all these cool things. And we're taking the time to apply what we teach over a year's time, because we don't get great at just awareness is good. And you heard me say that. Awareness is the starting place, but we have to learn to do. And how do we do that? And how there's different scenarios and seasons in our life. And we need to learn how to identify what is going on with me at this time, what's ready to come up, and then let me heal that. Let me heal that block. Let me shift that block. And now let's apply that knowledge. And then so we go from learning, doing to achieving. That's key. I'm working with people in a year's time to do that. So to get me to the place where I'm ready to do that, all things guidance, use this last week and this surge of energy to unearth an emotional block for me. It was tied to fear, like I said, of that learning piece and the shame that I had felt, and healing at that root. Taking the emotion and transitioning it into a love emotion. There's these really simple steps that I use that are incredible for shifting energy. And all of a sudden, thoughts showed up for me. I saw where I was blocking myself. But to do that, I needed to get to the emotion and transition that emotion and that emotional block into a love space for myself. So number 3, emotional blocks. So number 4 is psychological blocks. Perfectionism, procrastination, overthinking, cognitive biases. For example, some cognitive biases could be confirmation biases, negativity biases, overconfident biases, anchoring biases. So anchoring biases, meaning having the first piece of information weighted too heavily when making a decision. An example of that would be, or could be, you grew up in the northern part of the world, so someplace cold, or high mountain areas, someplace cold, and so a 70-degree day is a hot day. So, and then somebody that was raised in a desert or, southern parts of America, you would be like, 100, if you're raised in Nevada, for example, 100-degree day is kind of getting warm, but let's talk about 120. Now it's getting hot. So that sets a baseline for you. What is hot? If I said, here's a 20,000 cars or $20,000, and this is your first experience buying or purchasing a car, you're going to measure what's expensive or inexpensive based on that first piece of information. $20,000, okay, that's the average car. So expensive is 30, a good deal is 15. So whatever, those experiences set a baseline. So if I am talking to clients, I will go, okay, what was your experiences? What were some of your experiences that could have created a baseline for what you can achieve? Because we're talking about getting information, doing, and then having. So if you're going to have a bias, that can connect to limiting beliefs. It's a bias that allows you to move beyond this or not. Like if you're going to charge for your program, for example, if you are an intuitive, or you work for yourself and you're setting your own prices, what are you worth? What's that service worth? There's a bias that's setting that. Now there are some market norms that may influence that, but I think more than that, I think it's a bias. Let's challenge that and see. What is there a block there to what you really can do? I'm only able to work during these days or these hours. I mean, I'm only able to physically work out this much. We have so many biases. If we start really taking a look at our daily routine, some of these things maybe we want to hold on to. Some of these could be blocking us and stopping your feet. There's another piece here in the psychological block that I'm just going to read this to you. It's around perfectionism, and I just like how this is said here. When you strive for perfection, you've often attempted to project an image that you don't genuinely believe about yourself. It's a way to convince others of qualities or skills you doubt in yourself. You desire for external validation masks your insecurities, fears, and feelings of inadequacy. By presenting an impeccable facade, you hope others will see you as successful and worthy, even though deep down you struggle to believe this about yourself. This division between your internal self-image and the facade you portray creates deep disharmony and tension within you. If only you could break free from this never-ending, exhausting quest for perfection. Perfectionism blocks us because we know in our heart it isn't real. We know that this is a facade. And in our moving forward, there is a need for us to embrace authenticity. Authenticity is where all of our gifts are. It's where our truest self lies, and it is easy to be us. It's freeing to be us. Now, is it easy to be us? There's times it's not. So let's understand. But is it flow from us? Yes. Is it relatable? Yes. Is it high vibe? Is it a high vibe to be who we authentically are? Yes. So a facade that could be built in perfectionism to protect ourselves. Could also be looked at as personas. If you hate the persona, that's fine, because that's not really me anyway. I've had several of those. I am not good at this. So if you don't know that, I don't have to feel shame. The block then, though, is I'm not moving in who I authentically am. And I am designed, all my gifts, intuitively and physically, are designed to work together and create these amazing things. We are so valuable in our most authentic space. And we know it and we can feel it. And that joy, satisfaction, excited to wake up feeling that we long for comes when we're in that space. So removing this block is huge. So we are halfway through. We have covered 4 of the 8 blocks: fear, limiting beliefs, emotional blocks, and psychological blocks. And as you can see already how these are intertwined together, one is influencing the other, but we can see them as individual pieces. So let's get into the next 4 types of blocks. Number 5, behavioral blocks. Bad habits, lack of discipline, poor time, self-management, ineffective communication skills. Behavioral blocks are things that we are doing or projecting and others are reacting to. I also can not plan my day successfully to avoid something. This is a behavioral block. I am stopping, I'm self-sabotaging when I am acting in behavioral blocks. Number 6, mindset blocks. We talked about limiting beliefs, but what's a mindset block? Fixed mindset versus growth mindset, scarcity mentality, victim mentality are some examples of mindset blocks. It is how we think about our surroundings. Do you have enough? What does it look like when there's a scarcity mentality? It means that I need to beat you down to be successful. If I'm in that mindset, that means I don't feel there's enough. There's not enough to go around. Therefore, I have to take you out to have what I need. I can't share this with you because there's not enough to go around. That's an example. And it can manifest or look in many different areas of our lives. Why does this become a block? Is because we're designed to work together. Maybe you won't build a business with somebody, but I can recommend your business. If a client comes to me and they don't fit into one of my programs, but I know this person. They would be amazing for you. Let me refer them over. That is the opposite of there's not enough. There's so much to go around. And if we collaborate together, we are actually raising the vibration for all of us to succeed. If I hold on to the feeling that there's not enough, I am blocking myself because energetically I am projecting that into society, into my circle. So there is enough time. We can also have the mindset that there's not enough time. And therefore I am like, there's not enough time, and I put that energy into how I work. Or I can say, there's enough time to get exactly what I need to get done. I can be guided through time so that everything falls exactly as it needs to fall. The mindset is there's not enough, and therefore I'm like, cramming things in, getting wound up, and actually stopping the flow. To get things done in time, we need to be, it's beneficial to be in flow. So our mindset blocks affect us daily, the second we wake up to when we go to bed. Number 7, social blocks. Toxic relationships, peer pressure of the negative type, social expectations, and a lack of a support system. So a social block will be when you're in, or your surroundings, who's in your group, what groups are you in, and what are the acceptable norms in that group. Does those acceptable norms match who you are at your authentic base and are supporting you and what you're feeling you're ready to do and shift into? So I do energy work and I have been an intuitive and supporting people and animals for over 25 years. I've been in certain circles that is not acceptable. That's looked at as negative or even evil. And I'm like, no, there's no evil in what I'm doing. I can feel that. That's of love and light. And this is, if I stayed in that circle, I would have been in a social block. I said, to be me, I have and I will move out of that social setting so that I can really expand into all that I know I was designed to be and that I'm here to do. I'm here to help people connect to that intuitive piece of them and really get to know themselves at just a whole new level. And if I stayed in that social block, I wouldn't be doing that. And I would be miserable. And I was miserable, by the way. So social blocks are real. And there's other places that we will conform to fit in. And conformity literally just trims us down and away from who we authentically are. Number 8, energetic blocks. Guilt, attachment, limiting beliefs, out of balance, not clear, low vibrations. And you can see through really the energy block piece is interwoven throughout all the first 7. Energy is part of it all. And energy is at the root of it. So if we can get down to the root, and you heard me say this already, but if we can find the root and heal at that level, then the symptoms will cease to exist. If we get down to the experience where that fear took root, the experience will no longer affect us like it used to. We get to shift our perspective. When we raise our vibration, it's like getting out of the mud puddle. If I'm deep in muddy water and I'm looking for clarity, I just can't see. Raising your vibration, so healing at the energetic level, is literally just like jumping out of the mud and standing on the bank, and you're like, oh, okay. You get a whole new perspective. And as we keep as we do the journey work, that's what I love about healing over a period of time, is one layer and one step and one piece of understanding and expansion and awareness is happening. Then we can heal at another level and more expansion and awareness happens. Then over time, we're on a mountaintop. Where do I go? Oh, so much clarity. What used to seem like, and it was at the time, so we're not downplaying that. I'm not downplaying that in this statement. But what used to seem so insurmountable is now this little rock that's not even noticeable because you're so high energetically. So, and there's so much more of a depth of connecting to you. So emotional blocks are static between you and who you authentically are. All of these blocks are walls, rock, and energetic, like an electric fence, separating you from who you authentically are. And the beauty of being aware of these 8 pieces, these 8 blocks, and then get the knowledge, then do the doing so that you can have the having. Doing that piece and that journey work together is where you connect to who you were designed to be. And that's where the magic happens. So as we take a look and we wrap up this conversation together, this may have spurred on more questions. That's great. So reach out to me at janell@janellray.com. That's my email. And let's talk about those questions. Questions are so important. Curiosity is how we grow. So get curious, get into perspective, and take a look at, wow, where am I blocked? What's happening here? And I want to read to you a quote from Albert Einstein where he says, everything is energy. That's all there is to it. Fear is energy. Emotion is energy. Our behavior is energy. Our mindset is energy. The social impact to us, it is energy coming into us and we're picking it up. Everything is energy. What we get to do, though, is we get to transmute energy. We get to shift one vibration into another. And we can do that through very simple steps. One, and the first step is awareness. Two is get into a program that supports you. There's lots of them out there, and you want one that is going to resonate with you and what you're looking for. You want to work with someone that works through, my recommendation is through love energy, so that you're using love to shift what is into what it can be. Raise the vibration. You want to work over a period of time. There's a lot of quick fixes. You could do this in 3 days. Well, you'll get some awareness and some knowledge in 3 days for sure. But you want lasting change and real understanding, then you want to work with somebody over time. Like my new program is over a year's period of time, so that understanding and the levels of understanding can be accomplished. We want to connect people to who they are at their most authentic space. What are your gifts? What are your intuitive gifts? What are your energy gifts? What pieces of you are ready to elevate? And what does that mean? How do you work, and how do the pieces of your physical gifts and your energy gifts, how do they work together? I want understanding. I want to know myself at a whole new level. Well, that's what we do. And it takes time to do that. And somebody looking at you through a second set of eyes that aren't connected to any of your blocks will see it clearly. When I'm working through my stuff, especially in the beginning, I was working with other healers. I was working with other people because, one, they can see me through with a fresh lens. Now, don't give your power away. You want to work with someone that facilitates the scenario for you to find your truths, but not tell you what your truths are. You know your truths, and that's what we need to learn. What's beneficial to develop is these are my truths, and this is why I think that way. I am this, and this is how it works. Okay, awesome. That is you, and that's how it works for you. Now, how do we apply that? And then grow and put those building blocks together with certainty. Certainty is huge for moving forward in your most authenticity, because authentic and being authentic can scare the bejeebies out of you. I remember moments when I'm stepping out in my most there's a word for that, my most authentic self, and I am like, I'm the most vulnerable. Yeah, you are. So your certainty will give you the ability to push past that or work through that into where you know you need to go. So working with somebody that doesn't tell you and take your power away, but show you discover it, and the length of time so that you're solid in it and you're expanded at that level. It's amazing. I look forward to learning more about you. Reach out at Janell@janellready.com and we'll begin the journey together. Why not? It's your time.